In three, two, one, live action. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey Kelly, what's up?
We are back for another fun episode because
Yes, we
fun is
are.
the name of the game, right?
That's right.
Always putting that first in your life, you guys. We've got a really special topic today, and it's special because it's so common, and special because it's like, do I even need that? And so you're thinking, what's so special? And do I really need blood work? I feel fine, and my doctor always tells me my blood work looks good. So is that necessary, Heidi, or what's the deal? But before
Yeah.
we kind of, I mean, I'm sure you hear this all the time, and people are like, I've already had blood work done. I don't need more blood work. It said I'm fine, right?
Yeah, exactly. Over and over.
Over and over, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, we're gonna back up for a minute. We're gonna back the bus up for a minute because what is the number one goal we're all looking for here in this life? To have happy and joy and peace and love and optimal
Energy.
health, right? And energy, right?
Right?
Absolutely. Like that's what we want. So if that's what we want, then we need to make sure that this operating system's online.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so much of the time, I mean, I got frustrated with my computer the other day. I had so much open, everything was slowing down, and this wouldn't work right. And it needed a reboot, and I needed to shut some things down. And I think a lot of times we feel well-ish that we either don't think we need blood work or we don't feel that well. We might even feel like crap, but the blood work doesn't show anything.
Yeah, that's often the case.
Often the case. So, you guys, we're going to do a deep dive into blood work, comprehensive blood work, the difference and why. But before we do a deep dive of jumping in, I know there's some new people out there following us. So, if you're new, and you're live with us in the chat, please just say like hello, wave, tell us your name, where you're coming in from. And we welcome you to be here. We really welcome you to be here because the job that Heidi and I coming to you every single week is to help you thrive
Yeah,
and live
absolutely.
this life of excitement, energy, joy, that you have what you need and feel what you feel to live the life you want to live, right?
Mhm.
So thank you if you're new. And if you've been here for a while, tell us also like, oh my gosh, love you guys following and send this to some friends, right? We're,
Yeah,
we're, we're having a bigger community. So send this to some friends.
yeah.
And if you're really unfamiliar with us, Heidi, do a quick hello of you and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I'm Heidi Iratcabal. I'm an ND. I'm certified in functional medicine. I'm also certified clinical functional medicine practitioner. Been in practice 30 years, at various degrees of it, working my way to the functional world. Um, yeah, I come into this from an athletic point of view, from sports, trying to achieve the highest performance, the best performance. How do I need to eat? How can I recover better? All the different angles. And it wasn't until really that I moved to Europe and was bicycle racing for the world champion that I encountered different modalities of healing, different ways of achieving high performance without drugs, without any kind of enhancers, but through food and lifestyle. I felt so tremendous that I decided then that when I retire from racing, that I want to do this for people. And that's what got me into natural health and healing and become a naturopath, and acupuncture, because I wanted to bring this to everyone. Everyone should feel this good with the tools we have, which is diet and lifestyle.
Oh, my heart just like melts when I hear you say that. And you guys, my journey is I was also a scholar athlete. I was not an athlete at the level of Dr. Heidi, but fitness was always a part of my life, right? I think I started running with my dad when I was 7 and 8 years old. He would go for his, run. I would just trot along with him. And running has always been my passion at various things. And as I entered into becoming a physical therapist, I really wanted to help people. And I thought it would be from an athletic standpoint. Then, as I was in school and I realized there's this whole world of the brain, I fell in love with trying to help people regain their life back after traumatic brain injury, concussion, strokes. And I've loved what I've done in that. But along the way, I was helping people get well after they were so sick. And when I saw my dad get so sick from cancer and die, I was like, wait, wait, wait. Could we help people stay well to not get to these disease states, to not have these things happen? There may always be accidents that happen, but in our day-to-day life, we all need to be living better. And so, again, my journey this past 15 years has been peeling back the curtain into functional medicine, getting to root cause, taking control of my own health and not just letting it be like, oh, whatever. And now bringing all that wisdom to you with our education and all my experience and my coaching practices that I've gone through to help people get clear on what they want, be accountable to what they want, like go after what they want. Because too much of the time, people just fall short because they don't have that mentor and that coach. And so, Heidi and I together can help you with all of that wellness and accountability and community. So, without further ado, Heidi, let's jump into blood.
Blood, ooh. Yeah, blood work is the standard, right? We go to the doctor, they take our blood, they tell us everything is fine or not, but most of the time they say, oh, everything looks fine. And they don't really go over it with us. They don't really tell us. But here's where that gap becomes is, the blood ratios of where they say you're well or not is a bell curve based on comparing you to sick people and well people, right? So it's a bell curve of people who are sick, really. So you're being compared to sick people and not to optimal high performance people. So this is where a lot of people say, I feel awful, but the doctor says my blood work is fine because they're falling in close to the end of a range, but they're not out of a range. So in standard medicine, the doctors really are not allowed to say, "Oh, you're getting close to the edge. Do you feel fine?" They're just told to read the lab. If they're within the lab range, that's all they can do, right? So in functional medicine, we lower those ranges. Not only do we lower the ranges, but we ask, well, how are you feeling? Because based on this range, you might be starting to feel something. And when you think about the truth and the research showing that most diseases begin 10 to 15 years before they're actually diagnosed, this is where lowering or narrowing that range can help us say, wait, something's brewing. Let's end that now. And so I love blood work. You can glean so much information from just a CBC with diff and a CMP. So these are basic blood works you would get from any doctor, any insurance would pay for it, but we just look at it a little bit differently. And there's some markers that you may want to ask your doctor to include. And I think Kellie and I will go over those a little bit today. But blood work is fabulous, but look at your blood work. If you still don't feel well, it doesn't match your blood work. So you need to dig deeper. Don't just accept it.
Oh my gosh. And let's take the other end of the spectrum. This is somebody who feels okay,
Mhm.
and the doctor says they're okay. So that person is literally walking around gonna play Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Because just because you don't feel something today, like you said, it's brewing. And therefore, that's how we all can take more control of our health. Like, be more responsible to say, oh, goodness, last year I was here. Now I'm here. I don't want to keep going here because holy cow. And sometimes it's easy to kind of like out of sight, out of mind, or like, I don't want to change what I'm doing because you don't want to stop eating the way you're eating, or you don't want to have to start sleeping differently, exercising differently, whatever that may be. You don't want to take some supplements that could support you. Maybe that is the truth, that you just don't want to do it. So that's okay. But if you want to live and feel amazing in 10, 15, 20 years from now, then don't be surprised if you feel like crap if you didn't take that responsibility of looking at those numbers.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Heidi, what else? So, sometimes when we're like, okay, well, they take blood and I'm either fine or not fine in the markers, but when we start looking at a functional medicine and adding on more things, I think today what we have found is insurance companies, when we're in conventional medicine, basically say, in your plan, we will cover this. And my doctor just told me, if you want these extra things, I don't normally order them, and chances are you may have to pay out of pocket. Your insurance won't cover them. That's true, right?
Mhm. Very true. Yeah.
And
They'll,
that's okay, you guys, but insurance has found a way to make things so strip it away, right? The house with no frills, like down to the
Mhm.
bare bones. So, do you want your health to be bare bones? No.
Yeah. You don't want the bare minimum when you're looking at longevity and quality longevity. This is the key. This is the ultimate reason why, because we're all going to age. We're all going to get older, but we can control the quality of that aging process and not just accept, well, I'm this old, so I'm going to have sore joints. But do you have to have this much sore joints? Do you have to have cardiovascular disease? All of these things are technically avoidable with diet and lifestyle changes and careful monitoring with your blood.
So, this is so critical because blood work to people isn't fun, isn't fancy, isn't sexy. People want the latest and the greatest. And so they're like, I want everybody's talking about this new Dutch test. I want that. Everybody's talking about this. I want that. Those are all in addition, but you guys, this is where we need to start. This is foundational, and you can actually tell a lot more. So, Heidi, let's start with that. Let's go through a couple sections. If people were to like say, yes, I'm going to go to my doctor next month. I'm supposed to have my blood test done, or I haven't done it in a couple years. So I'm going to go in. Where do I start as the average person of what, in addition, to be sure I'm asking for? And then we'll tell you a little bit about like some of these areas of what it's measuring, right? Because I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's good for you to know why you're asking for stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So you definitely want, and most doctors will run a CBC. This tells us what's your red blood cell like? Do you have enough oxygen floating? Do you have enough B12 in that red blood cell? What's the color of that red blood cell? Is the volume normal? Are the platelets clotting normally or too much? And that kind of thing. So a CBC tells us a lot of information. But some of the things we want to look at that are extra. They'll do also a CMP, which is also very normal, that it's going to look at your lipid markers, your liver markers, those same markers that AST, ALTs that look at your liver are looking at your lungs, looking at your brain, looking at your muscles. So those are very important, not just for liver, but for a lot of other tissues in the body. And, you know, we were always fined 25 cents if we called it a liver marker because it's not just a liver marker, but that's what they'll call it. But there's some inflammatory markers that are very important to ask for. You want a CRP or an HCRP, HSCRP, which is a high sensitivity CRP, C-reactive protein marker. This is an inflammatory marker. It will be inflamed for it just lets us know, hey, there's inflammation here. It's usually put into a cardiovascular category that there's inflammation, so we have to look at you from a cardiovascular problem, but it can be inflammation anywhere. So it is a big red flag. It shouldn't be over 3. It needs to be under 3, well under 3. I really don't like to see it over 2 from a functional perspective, because that's a big red flag saying, hey, there's inflammation here, come find it. Come help me out. Because where there's inflammation, there's disease brewing,
Mhm.
right? Homocysteine is one that is rarely used, yet it is an inflammatory marker. It's used more in the cardiovascular arena because when that homocysteine is high, that can actually indicate vascular inflammation. It shouldn't be over 7. They let you go to 15, but we know from the research that once your homocysteine gets over 7, we're already having neuronal damage from a vascular point of view. So that's huge. What is interesting about homocysteine is that it also tells us how we're methylating. So is that B12 getting into your cell? You may have a lot of B12 circulating when they take your blood. Oh, I have a high B12. But is it getting into the cell? And that homocysteine really tells us. Why is that important? The B12 is, or methylation is very important for our hormones, our neurotransmitters, getting rid of chemical toxicities, etc. It is a big, important number to know and to be between 6 and 7 and keep it there. So those are big numbers to do. We also want to make sure we're looking at our hemoglobin A1C, our insulin, our glucose, to see what our markers are, what is our body doing with the food we're eating. And because where insulin is high, glucose high, we're triggering inflammation. It is the gas pedal to most disease states. And so we really want to get that under control. Hemoglobin A1C is not the ultimate number. What that tells us is that the excess insulin we're having in our body and glucose is turning into a very toxic substance. So yes, they call it diabetes, but you have to think a little bit broader than the name diabetes. It's a big inflammatory cascade of events that are going on in your body there from a cellular point of view. So these are really important markers to know and to understand.
And these are so easy to run.
Yeah.
They're not hard or difficult. And even if you guys have to pay out of pocket, it's not much. Like we're not talking about hundreds or thousands of dollars at all. We're talking about dollars or tens of dollars. Like that's about it. So really it's accessible to everybody to really know. And by you being able to watch your own trends, you can really start taking control. And if you need somebody to and say like my doctor doesn't even know what to do with these, then find somebody that can help you, right?
Yeah.
Whether you have your own naturopath, your own functional medicine doctor, whether you come into Dr. Heidi my programs and we help you guys, we want you to start understanding this. We teach the women in our programs what things mean, what to look at. If this is off, what should I be doing? This is like good talk. This is like fun discussion. And then you can watch your blood work change based
Yeah.
on what you've done. And it's like, oh my God, look at just what happened.
Yeah, that's a really fun part is you get these blood readings, you have a clear understanding, whether they're out of range or not. It's where do you want it to be, right? Change your diet. Start doing those little things that we hear all about on every podcast, on everything out there that says maybe just not getting any processed food. Just say, all right, I'm not going to eat any processed. Change only that for 30 days, 90 days, and see how it changes those markers. The research over and over and over, just taking out processed food makes a huge difference in reduction of disease states and inflammatory states. It's profound, but this way you're in control, you're measuring, check it every, 120 days, every 4 months, have a look.
Yeah. Another friend of mine just said, I finally took all the seed oils out of my house because the husband, even though she wasn't using them often, the husband was cooking. If they're in the house, they're creeped into what you're doing and cooking with, right? And if a recipe calls for canola oil and it's in your cupboard, you'll probably accidentally forget and use canola oil. So again, one step of either put things in your house if you don't have healthy things or take something out that you know is not serving you. And that's like just doing one thing because you can hear a podcast and you're like, no, you're supposed to do 10 things, but it's too overwhelming. You do nothing.
Yeah. Start with something simple, a little movement. Make yourself get out and walk 5, 10 minutes a day with the morning, with the night, and then start to gradually pull away that processed food that is designed to make us addicted to it. And know that you're being manipulated through flavors in our brain in these processed foods. Why else why else is it so hard to not eat those things or not to grab that bag of chips? There's a flavor combination that by design and research makes you addicted to it, makes you love it, and your memory banks go, Ah, they would, Dad. They would,
Right?
Dad. Right? So get it out of your house so you're not tempted. I'm telling you, the research in even just doing this for really difficult diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune, lupus, in 90 days reduces this activity of those autoimmune to almost to nothing. It brings it down to almost their activity of autoimmune to almost nothing. 90 days. That's nothing in a lifetime of quality, longevity, vitality.
We can't control everything. And I was just talking to a colleague of mine, and she was like, gosh, some of these markers she was looking at, I won't go into those details, but she said, I have a feeling I've been traveling a lot this last 6 months, and I've been eating out more than ever. And I think I've been exposed to glyphosate from the foods at the restaurants, from corn, from the maybe the meat I was eating at some of the restaurants, right? Like
Yeah.
she hadn't been eating it, but it's places. So you can't control outside all the time. And if you're out and you're traveling, again, we make the best choice we can. But when you're at home, you can control what is in your household. So that is the number one place to start. So, Heidi, let's go back to some blood because some
Mhm.
other things that we really didn't talk about on another podcast, we talked in detail about thyroid. But just quickly, so we're like still making sure we're covering all those blood markers, what would be because sometimes people say, like, oh, I in thyroid, yeah, I had my T4, but that's like, that's nothing.
Yeah. So thyroid again, it's a big one, but go beyond just TSH. That's the generally they'll do just TSH and maybe they'll do a T4. So why do they do that? TSH is how much you're producing, how much money you got in the bank, right? T4, that money gets funneled to what? To T4. And then T4 funnels it further down, so you get to use it called T3. Well, if we only measure how much money we have at the bank and the first sequence of funneling, but not the actual money we receive, we're missing a big picture. So really ask for a full thyroid panel where you have TSH, T4, T3, and maybe have them sneak in a free T3 because free T3 is the only one that can get onto the receptor, right? So the receptor site's waiting for T3 to get on there. T4 doesn't fit, T3 fits, if it's free to do so. So we have to measure how much free T3 we can get. So ask for those as well. And I would always, when if you're in there and you're testing your thyroid, you might as well ask for a autoimmune test to make sure there isn't any autoimmune brewing, a TPO or TGA, because these antibodies, if they are high in production, they're starting to destroy that gland. And the sooner you can detect that, the sooner you can do something about it. If it's just a mild elevation, oftentimes our body saying, hey, 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 whatever you're doing, you got to stop because I'm having trouble recognizing self and non-self tissue. You don't want autoimmune. So catch it early, wind it down, be healthy.
Be healthy. And you guys, if you're kind of not quite following Dr. Heidi's analogy with it in the bank, just think your bank, if they're charging you a super high interest rate, right? Then you only get this portion because they took a big chunk of it. So how much are they taking and what are you really left with? You want to know what you're left with, but then not only that, right? We'll call that the T3. You want to know, can you actually use that to go pay for something? Is it in the right currency? Like maybe you're in another country and like, we don't take that. It's not usable here. So
Yeah.
it's got to be free to be able to be used. It's in the right conversion. So there again, we're hearing people have so many health issues more than ever before. We know we're living in a world of toxic soup, but that doesn't mean we just throw our hands up. And
Yeah.
that's what we want you guys to understand is going through blood work more than just what you would normally do. You've got to ask for a comprehensive blood panel. And if you don't feel like your provider can offer that, even going to another provider that can is not that much money. Looking at a comprehensive blood work is not, it should not break the bank. So we're
Yeah.
fully encouraging you that find somebody local. We can help you guys do that. We can do that in our program. We actually have a smoking deal that we really help people because we want people to have it. We want you to know
Yeah.
your numbers and we want you to be empowered.
Yeah. Yeah. Want to hand you the tools so you feel confident to know these changes, what to ask for, and what kind of conversation to have. That's money in the bank. Back to the banking account is when you know how to have that conversation and what to ask for, and what questions to ask. It's important. You first.
So important. And I'll
Yeah.
end with this, you guys. I think many of us go in and don't know what to ask. So that's what these questions are about, empowering you to know what markers are, to know what to start to look for, um, versus just leave it up to the doctor.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Because they only have like 10 minutes with you. So oftentimes, by the time we get through the meet and greet, all your labs look good. How are you feeling? Let me look at maybe in your throat, maybe in your ear. Maybe they'll listen to your heart. That 10 minutes is up. So go in knowing what to look for. Say, can I see the labs? And be quick, ask questions. Like, get them to do it. They'll stay longer if you're asking questions. They're told we got to turn this around 10 minutes, but you're the patient. You're the one paying. If you go in ready for questions, you'll be better prepared and you'll feel like you'll have a better visit and a better rapport with your practitioner. And that's important.
That's important. And I do want to say, I have a doctor friend down the street, and she says, I wish it weren't so. I wish I didn't have, quote, productivity. But doctors have productivity that they're given, and that's why now it's not 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It literally is down to 10 minutes. But most of the time, we're just not prepared to ask. So I love that, Heidi, is they want you to have that conversation. They want you to be empowered. They just can't take the time to sit there and educate you.
Yeah, exactly.
So we hope today was helpful. Any other blood testing, blood work you want to leave anybody with, Heidi?
No, it's any more than what we just threw at them
Yeah.
would be too much. But I say ask for these inflammatory markers. Let's get a look at the things that trigger inflammation because inflammation is oxidation, oxidation is aging, and it's not friendly. So
There we
yeah, yeah. Look at those and know what you want to ask your doc about.
All right, you guys. Please let us know if you're again here with us live. Drop it down in the chat. Was this helpful? Have you done your blood work? Are you going to go ask for some new blood work, right? So just drop a one down below. If today was helpful and you feel more empowered with looking over your blood work, we really hope it was. So we're going to leave you with that for today. We can't wait to be back with you next week.
All right, take care, everyone. Be well.
Have a great day.